Hi, I'm Keith, and today I'm going to show you how to use Okta's Workforce product to secure your ngrok delivered app. If you've seen a couple of these others from me about Google or maybe GitLab, please note that this one takes a few more steps, but is even more powerful than what we did over there. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. To get started with this example, we need two things. First, we need an ngrok account, and we'll need an Okta account. If you go to developer.okta.com, you can go ahead and say sign up, and then you want to choose the Workforce Identity Cloud product over here. So you can sign up for a free domain and you go ahead and get that. In my case, I already have one. It's called danger.oktapreview.com. And go ahead and log into that. And once you've logged in, you don't want to just create another app here. Instead, you want to come over to the admin. And then you want to go to applications. And you want to create a new application. So in this case, we'll say OpenID Connect. We'll say web app. We'll call this my ngrok app. And then down below, we need to say, let's allow everyone in our organization to have access. Don't worry about it. In more serious production scenarios, we would probably limit this to people assigned to it. But in this case, let's keep it nice and simple. We can hit save there. And now we have our application. We have a client ID. We have a client secret, which is currently hidden from view. And then we need to change one more setting here. So if we edit this, we want to scroll down here to our sign-in redirect URLs, and we want to add the ngrok endpoint here. This is something that's included in the ngrok documentation. It'll be exactly the same for every application you ever create here. What this basically says is that after you log in successfully with Okta, where should they send the token? And in this case, you send the token back to ngrok, and then ngrok handles the redirect back to your application. You need to be very careful with this URL. If you set it to something arbitrary or something that's you don't have control over, other people can get your tokens. It's a bad thing. So in here, we'll go ahead and hit save. Now we need a handful of these settings back into our command line. So let's now go over to the application and show what we'll actually do with it. So from our previous examples, this is the exact same application. It's a very simple Express app running on port 3001 that sets a server name. And then we say, hi there. Oh, excuse me. Then we say app running on server name. So it's effectively hello world. If we have some additional headers, like the auth username, we go ahead and say hi there. And if we have the OAuth access token, we go ahead and give you the access token back. And if it happens to be a JWT or a JOT token, we decode it for you. This isn't a complicated series of steps, but I just want to be able to show that this JOT token is generated on the Okta side of things and moves all the way through to your application. So let's go ahead and go to the command line. On the command line, we'll go ahead and start this just like we would any other app. Now that should be running on 3001. So test localhost 3001. Sure enough, it's running. It says no access token present. Go back to the command line, open a new tab. We'll say ngrok HTTP 3001, because that's the port we're running on. We'll add a subdomain of Okta demo. Now, if you saw my previous videos, you might see OAuth equals Google, and you might think OAuth equals Okta is the way to go. Unfortunately, that's not correct here. In this case, since we're pointing to a specific application instead of Okta as a whole, we need to change our settings a little bit. So let's go ahead and say OIDC, or OpenID Connect, equals, in this case, we'll go ahead and grab the URL for our domain. In this case, mine is danger.oktapreview.com. Then we need to set our OIDC secret, my OIDC client ID. And that is back on our dashboard. So coming back to the Okta dashboard here, that's this one right here. So we grab our client ID. Then we need the OIDC client secret. And we copy that from right here. And now normally this would be a terrible thing to do because I've just exposed my secret to the world in this recording. But don't worry, this will be changed and reset and even deleted long before you see this video. So don't worry about that. Now, if all goes well here, I start that up. It's using 1Password to protect my credentials. And sure enough, let's see if it's running. So now I go to oktademo.ngrok.com or ngrok.io, sorry. Let me sign out, make sure I'm clear of that. Sure enough, I'm clear of all that. Now let's go ahead and open this under my URL. And it's pushed me back to Okta to log in. I go ahead and select my credentials. I log in, and sure enough, I got this token. And you can see the issuer, ISS, is danger.oktapreview.com, so that's who generated it. Here's my subject, that's I actually logged in, and the authentication time. So the actual time that I authenticated the issue at, the expiration, everything worked exactly the way we expected. Now, there are a couple trade-offs with this approach. As you can see on my command line, let me go ahead and close this command. My client secret is there for the world to see. This is unfortunate. If you want to keep secrets, which it's good keeping secrets, this is not the approach for it. If you want developers on your team to be able to reuse these things, sharing secrets all over the place is a bad way to go about it. So instead of using the command line, let's switch over to ngrok dashboard and use a cloud edge. So we'll go back to ngrok. We'll make sure hit the dashboard. Over on this left-hand side here, we'll go to cloud edge. Say edge here. So I've already set up an Okta edge. So we clicked on this right now, nothing would be running because nothing's running with this tunnel. But let's go ahead and start that. So we can say start a tunnel. We copy this command. We go back to our command line, we run this. Two quick things to note here. Notice I don't have to specify all these commands that I had to previously. The Edge ID manages to set all that for us. And localhost, we have to change that to the actual port we're looking at. Notice we don't have a URL here, so we have to come back to our dashboard. And now this URL should redirect our app. Sure enough, no token present. That's exactly what we expected. So now let's go ahead and set these things. On the ngrok side of things, let's go ahead and start an OIDC configuration. We need the issuer URL. So going back to our command line just for a moment. This was our issuer here, so we copy and paste this into this domain, this field. Our client ID is here, so we copy and paste that there. And our secret is right here, and we copy and paste that here. All right, so now we hit save. That should all be configured. Oh, and by the way, if you're trying to figure out where to get that Okta redirect URL that we set on that side, this is where that URL comes from. So this actually says you have to go set it over there, so that's a good reminder. If you see any weird things or unauthorized URL redirect, that's what the cause is. So make sure to set this on the Okta side. All right, so now I've done that. Let me come back to our command line. I'll restart with the same edge I did before. And looks like everything's good there. So now I will come here and I'll follow this URL. Let's see what happens. Redirects me back through Okta. I can authenticate. And if all goes well, yes, I am redirected back to my application. So it's a real quick and easy way to be able to say, here's my settings. Here's a setting for my OpenID Connect connection, regardless of who my identity provider is. I can go ahead and configure it on the command line, but unfortunately I expose that client secret, or I can configure it via Cloud Edge, and everything works without having to share those credentials. So that's how you use Okta to secure your ngrok delivered application in just a matter of minutes. If you have any questions, don't forget to visit us in Slack, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you find us. Hit us with questions anytime. We'd be happy to answer them. Thank you and have a great one.